Alright, hello, I'm John Robin, and I'm back here with another video for you today. Just following up on the introduction video that I did last time. I received quite a few comments from different people. I guess this informal style seems to be popular, so I'm going to stick with it. So today it's the weekend. I'm here writing. I've been actually at it for a little while, but I was out at Starbucks. That tends to be where I like to start up my day. Um, and so I dived in, and I didn't really want to record while I was there because there was a lot of background noise. So now there were a few things that I did that I thought would be neat to have the video playing while I was doing them, but it's a little late now, so what I'll do is just explain a little bit about what I do when I start out a chapter. Um, so last time I talked about these things that I called tales. You'll see I got this file open here. This is my main manuscript. So I always, when I start out on Saturday, I open up my 5 Scrivener files, and I use a program called Window Tabs. I know last time I mentioned it, and I didn't really write out the name of what it was called, so just for your reference, because there's probably many writers watching this, it's called Window Tabs. So if you just Google that, you should be able to find the program. You have to pardon me here. I'm getting over a cold, so occasionally I'll be coughing a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. So anyway, Window Tabs. It's a great program. I'd recommend it if you want to do something like this where you have multiple files open. And you could always, you see down here, all these pop up. I'm using a Windows computer. I don't know how this works with Mac, so I can't say if there'd be something different for that. But you can always Alt Tab through these or pick them. But I find that that's kind of a little bit cumbersome. I prefer having these tabs up here because all I have to do, let's say if I want to go into the world file, I just click that, and there we go. I've got all my dragons here. This course is open because throughout the week, anytime I get a dragon backer for Blood Dawn, their name goes here. And this is proof, I guess, to those people who have backed Blood Dawn as buying 7 copies as dragons. I do indeed add it to my world file in this part called Dragon Reckoning, and that's the type of historical perspective in the history category. So yeah, so you see that's my world file. So anyway, it just Window Tabs is very useful for being able to just kind of come and go between different things. So I always start my writing day by opening all files up and getting them all laid out. I put the manuscript on the left, and as you can see, I've been writing a little bit already. So a warning, of course, there may be spoilers. So if you prefer not to have any of the book spoiled, if you've maybe read some of the opening chapters, and you'll see today I'm working on a Manwyn chapter. You might not want to know what Manwyn gets up to near the very end of the book. We're here in these final chapters, and this is where I'm in part 11 of 13. So very close to the end. This weekend I'm going to hit the 700 page mark, which is just awesome. I don't think I'm going to go 800, but my best guess right now, just kind of looking at all the the various notes that I have for all these sort of chapters, maybe 760. That's what I have on my Inkshares page, but that number might inflate a little bit. Even just thinking about the sequence that's going to play out here, there's going to be more chapters than what I have notes to account for just the various things I sort of need to fit in here. So yeah, we're looking at about maybe 760 to 800 pages. I'm really not worried about the length because this is epic fantasy. If you like fantasy, I'm sure you're excited about the idea of a 800-page book that that sort of just takes you right into this awesome world with all these, this very detailed world, very well thought out. There's 7 different character stories, and all their lives intersect in a very meaningful journey. So, I mean, I'm not worried at all about going a little long. But of course, I don't believe in writing anything that doesn't move the story forward. If you get to a page and you're bored, then I've not done my job properly. And so I've learned lots of techniques as a writer to sort of just make sure this tension is always there. There's always some sense of, a drive, a goal, and something that the character has to work against, and there's always a focus. So I think that's the point I want to really get at today. I'm not going to record my entire writing session. I'm starting a Manwin chapter here. You could see that I always sometimes jump in with the start, but generally the first thing I do, just to make sure that I might throw this introductory material in here, but then I stop. I kind of have a hook sentence, and I stop and I think, well, where's this going? Because I don't want to just create some cool hook and then I invent a nonsense chapter that really, detours the plot and doesn't add to my overall goal for the character I'm writing in, or the overall plot. So what I do is this thing here. I gotta quit it. You see, these are my notes. As I write, I put in notes of what I kind of want to happen in the scene. But I do this thing here called focus for this scene. And for me in this scene, this here is the focus. That is the thing that I sat and wrote when I was at Starbucks, as getting into this scene and realizing, okay, this is, I know the elements, I know the pieces that I want to put in place here. But I can't just put everything in. It has to be on track. It has to reflect the focus of the scene, or else as a reader, as you're reading this, you're going to feel like there's just a bunch of random pieces thrown together, and I'm just trying to, this has to happen, and that really makes for a boring novel. So this focus is very important for me, and when I figure out what the focus is, I always I'll kind of leaf back. Beauty of Scrivener, I can view all my chapters here in this nice tree, and I color code Manwin yellow, so I can see all the Manwin chapters, and generally my process when I jump into a new character's head, as I did here with Manwin, I sort of jump back through those earlier chapters. I use this upper pane here to just go and quickly read over. I'm not reading in detail or editing or anything. I'm just getting a sense of where Manwin's journey has taken us, and that helps me to know where I think he needs to go here. And you'll also notice I have all these, there's going to be one more Manwin chapter near the end, and I've really got that scene nailed in my head. I don't see it happening. Sometimes I do get surprised, so I should take that back. I don't see it deviating from my plan much, but that's because obviously Manwin is building up toward this really big emotional sort of high or climax release, and that has to happen, or else the book doesn't end properly. You're left with an unresolved narrative. So obviously, knowing the elements of this chapter, they might play out differently, but the same thing will be accomplished. That allows me to know, well, this is the second last Manwin chapter. We're not going to see him again until this point. So I really need to make sure that certain things happen in this chapter that will precipitate what's to come in the final one. So the focus will always depend on where I'm at. I mean, I actually just made this technique up about half of the way through Blood Dawn, because I noticed as I was going along, I had all these notes that I'd filled in from plotting and thinking about the book. And I noticed it was kind of just like a laundry list. There was, I want this to happen and that to happen, but there really wasn't any overall focus. So I noticed as I was writing that often I would ignore my notes, and I end up with, I started this video saying, notice the tail, right? Well, this came about because at the end of every chapter, I had numerous notes of things I wanted to happen, but which didn't happen because they didn't fit. At the time, I didn't really know why they didn't fit. It just I knew the narrative lost focus, and so it's like, okay, to get into this chapter and what I'm trying to do, I'm going to cut all this stuff out. So what do I end up with? I end up with this giant thing at the end of the Rena chapter, right? This giant tail of notes. And it just made more sense for me to actually make the tail its own file. So you'll see here, I got Rena tail, and I tag it on to, or tack it on to the last Rena chapter. Actually, just haven't updated this, but this would be the last Rena chapter, so I mean, really it should move here. The reason I have this open for Manwin is, as it stands, a lot of the notes for Rena don't really belong with Rena. They did at the time when I was plotting things out, but I've come to realize that a lot of the things I want to resolve and I want to throw in to make sure the loose ends are tied up, they will fit elsewhere. So in terms of Manwin, there's sort of this note here. Again, my spoiler warning: don't read this if you don't want to be, or don't want to have anything spoiled. But you know, so there's this whole chunk here of stuff relating to Rena's Uncle Kurt and his dealings in the underworld, and that's kind of just been a background element. It's not that important. I really wanted to put it into earlier chapters. But that didn't it didn't fit. It would have just felt like an info dump, and I abandoned that, and I just decided basically with Uncle Kurt, he may actually vanish from the novel, or he'll really be pushed off as a side character. But that said, I still think there are some possibilities that I can bring his dealings in through all the stuff that's just about to, the shit that's going to hit the fan, if you're pardon my language, in this chapter to come. So I'll have this tail open, and I'm going to do some writing. I also have this thing called background for this scene. You'll notice that this is just a lot of notes, it seems random. And in fact, Saturday morning, I having my Americano and waking up, and this is actually quite organized compared to what I had when I opened everything up today. I had notes all over the place. So part of my process is just creating some order. Getting this focus and then background, and then putting some things in order. Like you'll notice here, I've got a note for the end. I have this little sequence. This actually came forward from the previous Manwin chapter. It was supposed to happen at the end, and but once again, I had a focus in that chapter, and this just didn't fit. It would have taken us off track for what I was trying to achieve. But it was important, so I moved it forward here. And actually, this Manwin chapter, there wasn't even supposed to be a Manwin chapter here. But again, I need it. This to me is very important for Manwin's arc. So I ended up creating a Manwin chapter and putting it here. Manwin still factors into the stuff that's going to happen. I just didn't really see a need to have his perspective or to zoom in on what's happening, because I thought all this would happen in one chapter. So again, planning versus plotting. As writers, I'm sure you could relate. Sometimes it's great to be able to plan things out. But did I say planning, plotting? I meant planning versus pantsing or inventing as you go. I think it's really good to be able to do a bit of both, because your story can always surprise you, and sometimes you can really stilt your narrative if you focus too much on a certain effect, or if you're focusing too much on wanting to, maybe you put something in your notes that made sense at the time, but as you get into the part of the book, it doesn't quite work. So this flexibility, kind of being able to bend both ways, to have to think through and plan and replan, but also to completely embrace surprises. It's worked very well for me. I can't say for every writer. Every writer is different, of course. Some people are brilliant at just seeing everything and going in, and they'll be spot on. I mean, I'm the opposite. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff, which is why prior to writing Blood Dawn, I did a lot of plotting, over-plotted, and killed my previous novel. So I won't do that again. But I've sort of embraced this hybrid form here, where my knowledge of plotting has helped me to build nice, coherent notes. But I view these as notes. I don't view them as scene beats or things that have to happen. They're just sort of, in a sense, it's kind of like, imagine you're doing your woman doing up her hair in a ball. Got to put all the nice pins in place so that everything will hold. That's kind of how I look at my notes. The structure has to work, but it might not. It might not work out, and I might find a better thing, a better alternative. So I always need to be flexible. That's part of my shortcomings, because I often miss things when I think about them. I'm in a hurry to get an idea down, and I might not think it all through beforehand. So I tend to do a lot of that discovery when I'm writing. So that, again, I don't have plans with these videos. I just turn the camera on and take you into where I'm at, and I'm hoping that those of you who watch this will get something meaningful out of spending some time with me and listening to me talk about how I write, maybe relate to me. Please leave me comments if you're writers. Today I think we kind of focused a bit on planning versus going by the seat of your pants, and just this idea of how do you make notes and how do you focus a scene. I'd really be interested to hear from other writers, or even if you're not a writer but you have some questions. I'd love to talk to you maybe in the comments. You can always send me an email. I love email. It's sort of my favorite way to communicate with fans. So johnrobin.rt@gmail.com. Please do send me an email if you're wanting to find out or just chat more, or you have questions or comments or ideas for future video. I'd love to hear from you. So I think I'm gonna maybe turn the camera off here. I'm gonna do a bit more writing. Sort of I've got everything ready to go. If you leave the camera on, you won't really. I'll probably be quiet because I need to think through a lot of how I'm gonna dive in here. So maybe the next video I'll turn the camera on while I'm writing, and you can watch me write. And we'll see if some things pop up there. So thank you for watching. I quite enjoy making these videos, actually. I downloaded a program called Camtasia Studios, and it's not free. I'm on trial version, so it's not that expensive. I might just buy it because it has a lot of great editing software, which I may use later on to make these videos better. So thank you for watching, and I guess until next video, I'll see you or talk to you again. Take care. Bye-bye.